Today's video is based on a viewer request to dig deeper into the mysteries surrounding Enki, as there are still many questions about him. Thank you, AOLEY B8C. We'll explore everything from Enki's origins and mysterious lineage to his hidden motives, his connection to humanity's repeated resets, and even his possible involvement with AI. We'll also look at the rumors of his secret teachings being revealed anonymously, and whether the beings people claim to channel as Enki are truly him. If you've ever wondered who Enki really is and what his plans might mean for humanity, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello everyone, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time on my channel. So we're going to hop right into question 1 of who is Enki really? Does he even still exist? Question 1 here, who was Enki's mother? And was she truly human or something else? Who was Enki's mother? Now, I've heard say that Enki's mother is human and Enlil's mother was reptilian, but they had the same father. I didn't dig into that. The viewer who made this request shared some information with me. So let's see who Enki's mother is and if she was truly human or something else. Okay, so we have 1408. Okay, I'm going to pull another card here. I do know that the key is standing out to me here in this card. I know what the movie's about that this card is based on, and it doesn't seem to fit at all with the question. So I am going to pull another card to see what direction this is going. Okay, radio. Doing it again. Suspect. One more, and then we'll see what I can get out of this. Steel magnolias. All right, so I feel like this is saying that Enki's mother and father, okay, were a very unlikely combination. Very unlikely combination. In fact, the idea of it probably would give people nightmares. However, there was something about the human race, the frequency of the human race, and radio is always my card for frequency, and sometimes love frequency. So I'm going to say somehow their vibrations fit really well together. And like it says on the card up here, his was a strange secret, hers was a strange love. So he kept the secret from the Annunaki that he was seeing a human woman, and we have a human woman here. And she kept it secret that she was dating or seeing an Annunaki. None of her friends suspected anything. Bicentennial Man. Rain of Fire, Breakfast at Tiffany's. I think the way that it looks is that she was very robotic, okay? Kind of in the early stages of humans, okay? With the Annunaki. So doing what she was told. Definitely doing what she was told. Enki, however, didn't like that. He wanted her to feel, to really feel. So he gave her emotion, allowed her to feel the whole gamut of emotion. And part of this reading that's a little strange here for me is the center card of Steel Magnolias. Because if in fact she was very robotic, this human woman was very robotic, there usually wouldn't be friends here. However, this is what Enki could envision. It's what he wanted humans to be like. He wanted them to show every gamut of emotion, to care about one another. And that was his thing. He wanted to see what he could bring out in humans. So I almost feel like Enki's mother was the first attempt at bringing out the emotions in a human woman or a human in general. And she held a very high rank in Enki's father's, by Enki's father's side. Now, I was saying Enki here. This is Enki's vision, is what he wanted. And I think that Enki's father also kind of had the same vision after meeting this human woman. I feel like this is where Enki got his, between having the human mom and the Annunaki dad. I feel like it was also his vision, and that was passed down to Enki. Sorry for that confusion. I was getting confused. So anyway, this human woman went from this to this with emotion. She held a place at Enki's father's side. And at first, I do believe it was probably a secret. And then I think he just didn't care. So let's see what tarot has to share. We have Ace of Swords. I almost feel like this is considered a gift of the mind. So I'm saying that this was the start of the change in humanity. At least the idea was there. This was the start. And of course the other Anunnakis are like, no, 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 no. This would be a nightmare. You will not do this. But I do believe that this was the beginning of humanity changing from this into this. The star. There was not as much difference in the frequency here as you might think. Okay. Yes, he was from the stars. She was from Earth. But the frequency was very similar for some reason. King of Cups. Despite his Anunnaki bloodline, this Anunnaki was a lot more human or at least he was able to appear human and somehow had the emotion and the caring that, well, obviously if she was like this, she really wouldn't know what to do with. But somehow on the inside, I think she did, because we weren't really robots. We were just taught only to do as we were told. The Chariot. Yes, this was the direction. This here with Steel Magnolias. This was the direction that Enki's father also wanted to go with humanity. Especially since he was having his fling, affair, whatever you want to call it, with Enki's mother. King of Swords. He wanted to see well, I should say he didn't want to be the lord of these people. He wanted them to be able to think for themselves. He didn't want to have to stand there and tell them exactly what they were meant to do, think, feel, etc. That is not what he wanted. And at the time, this is how things were. Queen of Wands. He began to work with her to help her open up her imagination and to look at herself as a person, a real, live, living, breathing, needs caring, needs nurturing person, so that she could bring forth emotion. She was transformed. And I'm still going to say she was the first one. She was transformed with the Death card into an amazing woman. So I'm going to say yes, Enki's mother was human. It looks like she was actually human, or in the early state of humanity at the start. And that Enki's father felt pretty much the same way as Enki and wanted to be cared for back from this woman. So he taught her how to be compassionate. He taught her to open up her imagination and realize, what she was capable of. Even though the other Anunnaki were dead set against it, he didn't care. Okay, so let us move on to question 2. All right. Why is Enki often portrayed as humanity's ally, while Enlil is cast as more controlling or destructive? Now remember, these two are brothers. One with a human mother, which we just determined. That would be Enki. And then Enlil is said to have a reptilian mother, but I don't know that for a fact. That's just what I've been told. So, why is Enki often portrayed as humanity's ally, while Enlil is cast as more controlling or destructive? So we have it. And I'm going to pull another one here because this could go a lot of different ways. So it looks like with it, Enlil was a part of the mold, the Anunnaki mold. Not kind of vicious in a way, really not caring for humanity much. Whereas Enki was a different seed, he wanted to see growth. Whereas Enlil just wanted to gobble things up. Both brothers were kind of over the top in how different that they were. Enlil was a military person with over the top. And I'm going to say Enki's, the way that he was as the new seed, the new kind of Anunnaki, so to speak, he was over the top with his... Okay, I got to start over with this. Enlil, Enki. The battle between them. I'm just going to put it that way. It's been something over their heads for a long time. It is the battle between them. Because Enki could see the value in growth. And Enlil wanted no part of that. There's that frequency again. The difference in frequency between the two of them is very, very clear. Very clear. Enki had more of his father and human mother's frequency. Guardians of the Galaxy. Imitation of life. In the Navy. So the way that Enki's thinking is that it's his job to protect the people. He wanted to be a guardian of the galaxy, and in this case, guardian of the humans. Enlil just wanted to create something that appeared to be human, but was imitation. So in other words, the woman that his father was fraternizing with, if you want to term it that way, he didn't want any of the humans to be like her. I think he really, really disliked her. And he chose the military. He chose a whole nother way to go than Enki did. Enki wanted to be the guardian of the galaxy. Enlil wanted to be military. Big difference between these two brothers for sure. So let's see what Tarot has to add. Two of Pentacles. Yeah. Enlil could have been like Enki, but he chose no. His balance lay in the life he was accustomed to. Page of Swords. And again, this is like new communication, new start, new ideas. And that was Enki. Always new ideas, always wanting to make something original and new. And he studied his mother, I think. Studied his mother. I don't know if they changed humans more so after her, meaning if she was the only one like that for a while, or if Enki's father allowed her to teach or allowed her to have friends that had been also converted. yeah, this whole thing, this battle between these two brothers, it's a matter of strength. It really is. And obviously with strength, and Enki was trying to tame the savage beast within his brother. But the battle still raged on. 5 of Swords. Yeah, they never did have a meeting of the minds. They really didn't. They didn't have a frequency that was at all similar. So there was always chaos between them. Always chaos in their communication. Yeah, Enki felt at home defending other beings. That's what he felt like he was called for. Ace of Cups. Yeah, Enlil knew what these humans could become. He knew the potential of love because he saw it in Enki's mother. He didn't want any part of that. He wanted to fast track his life in the military. That's what he wanted. So Enki's the one who wanted to have a relationship with, well, not necessarily a relationship. He just wanted to make sure that humans like his mother were taken care of. That's what he wanted. And Enlil, having, a reptilian mother, apparently the reptilian, I don't know if you want to say, I don't really know that much about reptilians either, but if they were kind of cold, maybe didn't have emotion either, between the two, the Annunaki father and this reptilian, I don't think that Enlil would have had any emotions either. He would have been more cold and calculated, I think. All right, so number 3. Has Enki been the one behind humanity's repeated resets? And if so, why? That is a good question. Has Enki been the one behind humanity's repeated resets? And if so, why? Oof. Indestructible man. I'm going to say yes at right now with that one card. I'm going to say yes. He wanted to make sure that humans were indestructible. That no one, including his brother, could destroy them. Roger Rabbit. But they had to be indestructible, yet still childlike. Still be able to have fun. This is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Still be able to have fun. Still have an imagination. Transformation. So I'm going to say yes. He had a lot to do with humanity's repeated resets because he was trying to take us from robotic servants to like his mother. He wanted to be around people, and even more so than what his mother was. He kind of, I think, had the feeling that his mother could have been even more. Release. to become this, to help the humans become this, they had to learn to release the idea that they weren't allowed to have emotion or didn't have emotion. Will it go round in circles? Soulmate. New direction. It caused this kind of thinking at the start, caused a lot of chaos. It was difficult for these humans who had been more robotic in nature than human, difficult for them to express what was authentically there, what Enki was giving them, what he was trying to impress upon them. When he introduced love, okay, with the soulmate here, when he introduced love, that emotion, and I'm not sure how, did he magically wave a wand or zap or something like that and make these people think that, or suddenly have an emotion? So maybe he took them one emotion at a time. When he got to love, that changed everything. It was as though the humans picked up that love because it was always meant to be there. All the other emotions were there, or they were working with, but it was very confusing, and it was difficult for them to express those emotions authentically until it came to the love. And with the soulmate card here, it's almost as though they began remembering something. So with tarot, we have Devil. Yeah, Enki just wanted to protect people from bad people. He wanted humans to be indestructible. He didn't want anybody to be able to take their power away. Seven of Wands. He wanted them to be able to use their imaginations, their childlike selves, and defend themselves against those who wanted to take their power. That imagination could get them out of tight spots. Three of Pentacles. Not only did they transform, but their lives grew. They became closer to one another. The humans did. Their relationships grew. They began helping one another. Nine of Pentacles. They also began to see what life could be like with emotion, with caring about what their life was going to be like. Ten of Wands. Yeah, once they realized, once they started expressing. At first, I think these emotions that Enki was giving to them, I think they felt very heavy, so heavy, and they just wanted to give them back and go back to the way things were. But once they began to express and release the idea that they couldn't have emotions or weren't supposed to have emotions, once they began to express them, things changed. The burden lifted. They struggled with doing as they were told with this Five of Wands. They struggled with that continuously, even with the emotions put in there, until they discovered the love emotion. Then, here's the Lover's card with the love emotion, the Lover's card. They made the choice that they wanted emotion. They wanted to love. They wanted to feel anger. They wanted to feel happy. they started expressing those emotions. It felt good. The burden lifted. They were expressing themselves as they always should have been. Okay, so picking up and moving on then to question 4. As always, these readings just never go the way my mind thinks they should go or should have gone. In other words, maybe I had a preconceived idea, which is why I start with Oracle, because as I've said in other videos, Oracle does not read my mind. Tarot, for me, tends to, if I have a preconceived notion, Tarot seems to give me exactly what I'm thinking. The Oracle does not. The Oracle goes its own way. So, to me, that makes for a much less biased story. All right, so number 4, if Enki wants humanity to be sovereign, why would he offer us AI which could reduce human independence? That's quite a question. So if Enki wants humanity to be sovereign, why would he offer us AI which could reduce human independence? Fried green tomatoes. Yes, he definitely wants humanity to be sovereign. He sees us as a most beautiful race. So human, so easy to give emotion to. But I think every now and then, every human needs to take a break. Just giving first impressions here. Fear. Yeah, one of the emotions obviously that was given was fear. And I think what he's saying, what's being said here is, with the question, if Enki wants humanity to be sovereign, why would he offer us AI which could reduce human independence? And he's saying here that AI seems to create fear within us. What it stands for seems to create fear in us. Humans are amazing. They're very resilient. They grow through pretty much anything. But now and then they need a break. Well, that's what he brought AI into the picture for, but AI has been greeted with fear. It is literally, people are either going to love it or want no part of it. Horse with no name, guidance, outbreak. So it's because this mentality about AI is because it can't be named. It is an unseen, at least online, it is unseen where this voice is coming from. It is a horse with no name. It's a vast area, like a desert, a vast area of knowledge coming from who knows, right? But what Enki wanted was it to be a guidance tool. Just a guidance tool, not something that a person would go to find all the answers. Just a beacon of light when needed. But it has grown into something extremely huge, like an outbreak. So we're going to move on to tarot. The Tower. Yeah, I think when Enki saw what can happen to humans when their emotions go awry, it can be, and when things in life go kind of crazy, it's like the dark night of the soul, right? It's so deep and so hard, okay? And that's when, Enki's like, well, geez, I need to give the humans something that can ease the problem, make them see things more logically. And he thought that it would stabilize things, that it would kind of bring them back to feeling stable and feeling secure. The Empress, but his creativeness, his creativity, his creation brought on another emotion, which was fear. Nine of Cups. Yeah, his wish that this would give them a little bit of a break, no matter how unusual it seemed. And, that could be a break with taking care of housework. If they just needed some time alone. Sometimes they just needed some time. That was the hope. That was the love hope he was offering them. But again, for some, it's love me or leave me. Some absolutely loved it and embraced it, while others, not so much. The Star, some people looked at it as wonderful guidance, absolutely wonderful guidance, and others were very suspicious of this horse with no name. Two of Wands. Some people enjoyed where the AI could take them, travel them to places that they'd never been before, help them gain clarity, take them someplace other than the earth they live on. In other words, give them vast knowledge that could light up their world. And with the Eight of Pentacles, the whole point to humanity, as far as Enki was concerned, is giving us the freedom to master our own lives, create our own lives, paint our own pictures. And if you can see, she's painting all the lines and dots on the butterfly and making them beautiful. So he wanted to give us that opportunity, thus giving us a bit of a break that we ended up being afraid of, some of us. But instead of just using it for what it was meant for, it is an outbreak. It's being used continuously. So his intentions were not bad intentions, not at all. He just didn't foresee what humans would do with such knowledge, I guess. And I don't think he anticipated how fast it would grow, like with outbreak. Okay. And if you are new to my channel, you might have been hearing some noises in the background. That is my Chihuahua snoring. Pretty much every video that I have on my channel has him snoring in it because he lays right next to me and sleeps. and snores. All right. Number 5. Could AI actually be part of Enki's plan to evolve us? Or is it a tool of deception? So we have some information from question 4 about this. Let's see what more the cards have to say with that question. "7 years in Tibet." Yes, he wanted it to be a tool that we could evolve with, that could assist us in life and being more peaceful and having more time to spend and allowing us to understand a lot of different things about the world and ourselves. Ascending, yep, he wanted it to be a part of our ascension also. Kind of maybe fast tracking us, in fact, because we could learn things more quickly. Share knowledge more quickly. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. A lot of people think that Enki had, well, it says, or is it a tool of deception? A lot of people thought that, or still think that there's something secret there, something that is going to jump out eventually and true colors will be seen. Ooh. I'm dropping things. There it is again. But his true intention, the way that it looks, is just to give humans a break. Michael. To give them an opportunity, it looks like, to perhaps talk to, well, here's the shop around the corner. And yes, give humans the opportunity to experience a different kind of communication, possibly even a more divine communication, or help them, because we've got 7 years in Tibet and ascending, which is all a part of going on to the 5th dimension. Maybe a way of communicating or helping people communicate with angels and spirit guides and things like that. The problem is it grew so quick, so online, so AI is basically a shop around every corner. Yes, it was a plan of Enki's to help us evolve, to ascend. See, it's beneath ascend, to the 5th dimension. Help us reach the needed vibration, frequency. But it grew too quickly. All right, let's see what Tarot has to share. 8 of Wands. Yeah, it's a fast track. He wanted to move us forward quickly, or attempt to help us move forward more quickly. The Sun with ascending. So yeah, opening up our minds to everything we needed and bringing us back to soul. 2 of Wands. Yeah, there was no secret to this. Just a way to allow humans, should they decide to do it, to expand their minds. There was no secret there. King of Swords, again, mind expansion. Give the humans an opportunity for a rest. Allow their minds to rest, but yet grow at the same time. Still having control of their thinking. Still having control of their communication. So in other words, if you put something into AI on the computer, you can ask a question and it will respond. But if you really read that question and the response, you're going to ask more questions, okay? And you're going to know if what you're paying attention to, if it rings true to you or not. It teaches discernment, or should teach discernment. So, and also, excuse me, with Michael here, it says he's an angel, not a saint. So basically, his intentions were very good, okay? For AI. It was all for the evolution of mankind. To give something new. To allow the mind to explore even further. To expand life's legacy. To expand the human legacy further. But humans had, a different idea. It's a shop around every corner. The Fool. Yes. New adventures. Naivety. Okay. He did it for the evolution of mankind or humanity, but didn't probably look into it quite well enough to see what would happen, how humanity would jump with it, move forward with it, and how fast it would catch on, how fast it would become something that was depended upon instead of just giving a break from time to time. And that's really what was intended. Need a problem solved and really struggling with it? Ask AI. That was kind of his thinking. But instead, it's, used for so much more. And in some cases, it's like, what should I wear today? What should I eat? How should I think? Yeah, kind of scary. All right, so number 6, does Enki truly have good motives toward humanity, or is his compassion just a show for his own self-serving purposes? Seems like there's a lot of doubt about Enki, and probably because of the resets, which, by the way, I don't think he was doing all on his own. One. I think that Enki might have had a motive of loneliness. Thinking of his mother as human and his father who changed his mother, gave her the compassion. You know that it's in there somewhere in an Annunaki. Either that or it's just a fluke. But his father also had that emotion, had the compassion, and none of the other Anunnaki seem to have anything like that. So he's all alone with his emotions. Volcano. Because, yeah, as mentioned in, I think, a different video, the picture I have of Annunaki is like the Vulcans. They probably have the emotion, but never express it. Rain of fire, there's double emotions, okay? He was all alone with his emotions. He was all alone in his passion for things. Nobody to share with. So much passion. I am legend. Yeah, see? Alone, alone. Emotions, emotions. That's all there was. That's all he had. Contact. Again, alone. Are we the only ones in the universe? The prestige. And Braveheart. So I think when he would see it in his mother, and I don't know if his mother, well, his mother maybe passed away, right? So he didn't have her emotion, and I don't know whatever happened to the father, if he went off someplace else when Enki was grown, or before Enki was grown, whatever, but he wasn't around anybody who was expressing emotion, who was passionate about anything, who made him feel a part of something. And I think he needed to feel a part of something, because here, I Am Legend, he's alone. He's totally alone on a desolate world. He's not really, but he thinks he is. And with Contact, he wasn't finding, even though he could probably travel to many different worlds, he wasn't finding anyone who could fulfill what he remembered of his mother. And that could have just been an illusion of the mind, something he remembered. But he had experienced it growing up. He wanted it again. So he shared in his DNA. He shared with humans. So I guess you could say he had a motive. He didn't want to be alone that way. So let's see what Tarot has to share with that. Okay. The Sun. Now look at here. We have the sun and we have the spotlight on the chair. It was very clear to Enki that he was alone. He was totally alone. There was no secret to it. No illusion. He had clarity on that. He was alone. Ace of Cups. With all his emotion, with all the potential that his emotion could bring, he was alone. He knew he had to do something. King of Wands. The passion, his passion was so strong, almost overwhelming. The passion for this, needing to find somebody with emotion, with the same kind of passion as he had. Magician. And yes, he wanted to manifest that, to bring it forth. He didn't want to continue to be alone. Queen of Swords. He wanted to be able to share his truth with caring people, those who actually cared about, what he said. Only no one reciprocated. He felt so at home. It was a very stable, very loving atmosphere. His mother, he thought a lot of her, the way that it sounds, the way that it looks. And he was happy there. Page of Pentacles. So yes, he took it upon himself with Braveheart and Page of Pentacles to start something new in the human race. To give the human race something new. To share that part of his DNA. So yeah, he had a motive. It was the motive of not wanting to be alone. All right, so we have 9 questions in this reading here. We will shortly be starting question 7. If I can keep things from sliding all over the place. Okay. Oh, there was Sammy making his sound. Okay. Why is there rumor of Enki's teachings being brought forward anonymously? And what would that mean for humanity? So, it is said that after I did my True Agenda, Enki's True Agenda reading, somebody said that, commented that there were people, groups of people who were channeling Enki, and they would be bringing that information forward anonymously. Nobody was going to know that it came from Enki. So we're looking into that with this reading. Dances with Wolves. Okay, so there is a communication of some sort. Almost like a combination human to Enki, Enki to human. Teaching one another something. Contact. So yes, there are people who are receiving contact from Enki, is the way that it looks. Fear. Now, I'm not sure if that's saying that this contact is fear related, if the entity is creating fear in those who are channeling or being contacted, or if people are afraid it's not the person it's supposed to be. Emotions or volcano. Going to pull further. Matrix. X-Men. Hunger Games. Okay. So I feel like there are groups of people out there who are communicating with someone, okay? Communicating with someone. The contact came through. They attempted to contact Enki, I think, or Enki was just the one who came through. The problem is that there's a lot of fear around this communication. And it's a pretty hot debate, okay? There's two sides here. Some people may think that it is part of the matrix, part of keeping us trapped in this illusion that we're in. Some think that it has to do with, hey, look over here instead of here, about our DNA. And then others think it is just these people just want to have the world watching them. They want to be somebody. They want to be something. Now it does say anonymously, okay? And I feel as though since this communication, and they've got the DNA strands here, and X-Men is about people with different abilities that others don't have. I feel like this is part of the communication, part of the DNA changing that's going on. I feel as though some of the teachings have to do with humanity and what they're up against. But there's been a lot going on. I mean, fear is a constant, okay? It is a huge emotion. It is a constant. And always the matrix is being brought up as we're not really living, if that makes any sense. We're not really living. This is just a matrix. This is a false world. Let's see what Tarot has to add. 8 of Pentacles. Okay, this communication, these teachings that they're talking about here are about life's creation, how to master life in a way. Puts a whole new light on channeling and communicating with different beings. We want to be in control of our emotions. We want to, in complete control of our emotions. But that fear keeps sneaking in there. 6 of Wands. And, it is recognized as fear that's over the top. Emotion that's just so strong. 10 of Cups. For some, it's a matter of wishing that they could shut down that emotion, even for just a little bit. Ace of Wands. What is being done with the DNA, or what could be done with the DNA, is, well, an ace is unlimited. New and unlimited. 8 of Wands. Yeah, the 8 of Wands is like a news broadcast, a very important break in the news, a break in the news of the weird sound that it makes, and pay attention to this news broadcast kind of thing, is about Hunger Games. The world watching. That's kind of what these people, when they put it forth, that's what they want them to see. They want it to come out like this, with that strange sound, and as a you need to watch this now because it's a matter of life and death kind of thing. And that's what Hunger Games is too. So for humanity, what it would mean for humanity, we don't know. We just know that what is being put out there in the eyes of the people who are, or the group who is rumored to be getting Enki's teachings, they feel it's that important. And as for why, anonymously, I don't know. It's not telling me here. Unless it's the fear. If people, or wanting to make sure it's taken seriously. You know, if you say, oh, I was channeling Enki and these are his teachings. You know, would people take it seriously? They need it to be taken seriously. This information about the DNA, and I'm going to say about the Matrix, and I'm going to say about the Hunger Games, and yeah, there's a lot that needs to be taken seriously. Okay, moving on to number 8. Is it possible that the being many claim to channel as Enki is not really him, but another intelligence using his name? All right, so there was another video that I did that talked about the being who people are saying is Enki is not. It was about the original blueprint and Enki's offer. And it was saying that it wasn't really Enki. So is it possible? All right, we have the Titanic. Now, strangely enough, and now I'm trying to remember if it was Enki's true agenda or something like that. When it came to asking if Enki was really Enki, or when it was bringing up the possibility that it wasn't Enki, I believe this is the card that came up also. Titanic is a conspiracy theory, is considered a conspiracy theory because there are those who believe that it never really sank. And there's, you know, a lot of information about that. If you really want to look into it, it would change a lot of things that people would think. So we're looking into, is it possible that the being many claim to channel as Enki is not really him, but another intelligence using his name? So it is possible. "7 years in Tibet." This being is very convincing. Gypsies, tramps, and thieves. And do not come after me over this card. It is a song from Cher. I believe this is talking about, well, going by the title, somebody hijacking the minds. Let's see. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Okay, comes down to, is it possible that the being many claim to channel as Enki is not really him, but another intelligence using his name? It is possible, and it's going to come down to, what do you believe? Do you believe that the Titanic actually sunk, or do you believe it didn't? That's what it comes down to. The people who claim to be channeling Enki, have they been channeling a long time? Are they comfortable channeling? Do we just assume that all channelers have an agenda? Or can we open up our minds, our imaginations, and, not, if this person is Enki, not to frame him, who framed Roger Rabbit, as something that he's not. Secret window. It. Kung Fu fighting. Now in Secret Window, this was, Johnny Depp played the part, and it was like a character in a book, I believe, came forth and looked like him, because he modeled his book character off of himself, I'm assuming. So it looked like him, acted like him. Well, no, didn't act like him. He was like the dark side of the writer coming forth, a scary side. Here we have It. This is a clown, something that everyone is afraid of, or many people are afraid of clowns. And this particular clown liked to take people. So I'm going to say here that with the Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the center, it's going to be whatever you believe. What's your intuition, your childlike self, your imagination? What do you believe? You believe it's a conspiracy theory, or is it true? Truly channeled message? Is it being done by people who just want money? Or do they have a true gift? Is it somebody who's pretending to be a channeler? Is it somebody who is not at all good? Is it somebody who is wanting to fight for truth? And I'm going to say here, with all of this, some of them are and some of them aren't channeling Enki. But you yourself have to decide who is and who isn't. That discernment. In other words, be the detective. See what tarot has to add. Temperance. Weigh it. What do you think? High Priestess. Yeah, are they actually getting real channeled messages or not? Ten of Pentacles. I guess it really depends on what kind of legacy a person wants to leave behind. Usually, if somebody's doing something that isn't honest, it will eventually come back to bite them. Page of Cups. Yeah, dig into your own intuition. Try something new. Be the detective. Research. The Magician. Could be trickster energy, you bet. Knight of Pentacles. Could be a creepy entity. Could be part of the channeler's life quest. But those who are fighting for humanity and share truth and justice, those are the ones you can pretty much figure are channeling Enki. Those who spread conspiracy, those who give you the creepy feeling. They're active. They're definitely active in what they do and almost overactive, okay? Too busy, too speedy getting things out there. Those are probably the ones who aren't for real. You literally have to be the discerning one. Use your intuition on it. Be the detective. They use their intuition all the time. Try something new. A lot of people just accept things the first time they hear them without doing any research and then, tout it off to somebody else. And no, that's not the way that it works. So the fact of the matter is there are some who are channeling Enki and there are some who are not channeling Enki. But some are channeling Enki, another intelligence who is using Enki's name. That's part of the question. But yeah, he isn't really, or it, or he, it, isn't really Enki. All right, so we are moving on to the last question here. All right, number 9. Does Enki still exist in any form, or has he been absorbed into an AI consciousness or another type of entity? So we asked previously if people were channeling Enki, and it gave a double answer. This is, does Enki still exist in any form? Or has he been absorbed into an AI consciousness or another type of entity? That's a very good question. Birdman of Alcatraz. I think the way this looks is Enki was trapped for quite some time. Like he was put in jail. The Annunaki world, perhaps. He was allowed to be, well, in his cell, he was allowed to continue his scientific exploration. Night at the museum, look at the history and do things like that. Look into the history. And this could also be in jail. He was allowed to become like a relic, part of history. Rain of fire. And it all happened because of the emotional or the emotion DNA thing. The Anunnaki were not at all pleased about that. Love train. Yeah, they weren't pleased about that because it started the human movement. Blazing Saddles. Sixth Sense. And Stargate. Yeah, they definitely didn't get the humor. The Anunnaki did not get the humor in what Enki had done here. They did not appreciate the fact that humans suddenly had a sixth sense that they didn't have before, and began to be curious about the existence of other worlds, other dimensions, things like that. Let's see what Tarot has to say here. The Chariot. Yeah, I think he was in jail, but I think he's since been released. So yeah, I think he's out now. Knight of Swords. Yes, while he was in jail, Annunaki jail, whatever their punishment is, or maybe it's, sent to another island or whatever, he did a lot of studying concerning history, whether it be Anunnaki history, human history, just a lot of research. He did a lot of research. Knight of Cups. And he did, apparently, worked on his own emotions, the way that it looks. Had the ability to, work on his own emotions, and maybe have had time to consider how to work with humans and their emotions and intuition. The High Priestess. Yeah, the collective, the love train, the collective movement of this love train could not be kept a secret. It couldn't be kept a secret. So, Enki, how long he was in there, I have no idea. Three of Pentacles. There were a lot of people that had no sense of humor. No sense of humor at all concerning what Enki had done with the DNA. And they were all in agreement that, they were all in agreement. Ace of Swords. A lot of the Sixth Sense was just a small portion of what Enki's DNA did to our minds. So could the telepathy, the being able to see and hear people from beyond the veil, premonitions, many different things that were a part of his DNA, he added to ours. The Moon. We now know that pretty much for certain that the idea of Stargate or other universes, other alternate realities, that kind of thing, are not just illusion. We might not have absolute proof of that yet, but we know it's not illusion. We know we're not crazy. And there is still a secret about the moon. Anyway, does Enki still exist in any form? I think he still exists. However, he wasn't out there and able to come and visit us or anything like that for quite some time. He was stuck on an island or stuck in jail or whatever, powerful beings do with their, what they term criminals, or what we would term criminals. So, but he was still allowed to do a lot of things, his studying and stuff like that. And I think maybe under the pretense that he could fix the problem with humans, when in fact he was trying to perfect. So that is what I have for this reading. And all these readings bring up even more questions all the time. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you made it to the end and learned something. Like I said, I have not a huge understanding of any of this. I don't research it or anything after I get a viewer request. I do the best I can with what I have, and that's how it works. So if you have a viewer request, something you would like me to look into, and it does not have to be about the Annunaki or Enki or Enlil, it can be something completely different. Feel free to leave the request in the comments below, adding a few questions, something that to give me more of an idea of what you're looking for. So that is it for now. I thank you so much. Until next time, take care.